Hey Shackers, it's Asif Khan, CEO, Editor-in-Chief of Shack News, here talking stocks with you on our Game Trader feature. Today I'm going to be looking at some technical, stock chart analysis of the stocks in our Game Trader universe. So let's start out with a company that has an event next week, or this week I should say, the Worldwide Developer Conference. Apple has that coming up. So Apple's doing extremely well. I don't know if you guys have noticed. It is trading very close to all-time highs, above 190 a share right now. It's not really it's not really staying inside of much. It is inside month, but the month's very early. We just started June. So you see, it had this huge recovery month on earnings back then, and it's been chugged along for a little bit. There were some rumors about iPhone supply and iPhone 10 being discontinued, but the stock has resolved to the upside. This is a lot to do with the buyback that they announced in April, and the stock has some momentum again. Look at it; it's pretty close to all-time highs, and it's there's a lot of happy shareholders there. Not many upset shareholders when the stock's only like 10 cents off of its all-time high or whatever. Yeah, which is pretty good. So we'll see if this stock stays inside anything. It did hold that earnings gap. It's been trading above that for almost a month now. So I think people would be a little more confident about this stock. It does move with the markets. It is the largest stock in the S&P 500. It's the largest stock in the NASDAQ 100. It's also one of the largest weighted stocks in the Dow Jones, because the Dow Jones is a price-weighted index. So really, I don't have anything technical to tell you about Apple except for, hey, it's near its all-time high. Watch that. I would say 190.37 is the level to watch. A breakout above that, the stock probably is going to get some more momentum. Let's move to some more interesting stocks. You got AMD, which has been a roller coaster ride for the past year, really. The stock has traded down below 10 and then back above 15 and then below 10 and above 15. Definitely has a range that you could see here. There's definitely a broadening formation occurring. If the stock does continue to break out, we'll see what's going on. This is the weekly chart. There's really not a whole lot to look at on the weekly. On the monthly, you can just look at it. It's not inside. Definitely has some momentum. We can go back and look at the quarterly for some reasons for why this is going on. AMD traded inside quarter here, and at the beginning of the year. It broke down below it and is now above that previous range. So it's above 1385. It broke down below 979. It hit a low of 904. But the minute it got back above here, there was a quarterly buy signal. So this signal has about a month left in it. So you could see Nvidia continue to go higher as long as it stays above this level, which is 1385. Once again, this is just purely technical. We're not looking at the fundamentals of the company or anything. But, stocks are driven by fundamental news. So if some kind of good news happens, that could be the reason that we see this continue to go up. But you do have about a month left in this signal. So if you're an AMD bull, which I know there's quite a few of them in the chatty, our chatty forum, you have a reason to be bullish for the first time in a long time. You had an inside quarter followed by a reversal down, and you got beat up. If you held through this whole thing, it was at 1565 and it hit a low of, it was below $10. So if you're willing to lose 30% like that, you're now almost back to where you were last year. And like I said, if you look back at that weekly chart, it's really been rough going. This is actually probably worth looking at a yearly chart of it as well. But yeah, it's not inside year. We don't have any other signals. But it is in the middle of a quarterly reversal strategy to the upside. So there's a buy signal. Let's move on to Amazon. I don't have really any signals here. It just keeps going up. If you look at this chart, it's up. It's going up on the quarterly. It's going up on the monthly. It did have an outside month, and then it went inside month, so that's something to watch. But it's already above it, so we'll see. This is one to watch, I guess, because you do have an inside month in the previous, and if it does reverse back down, you could have an active sell signal if it drops below 1546, and that would be a monthly signal to sell. But right now, there's really no reason to sell it. There also is very little reason to buy it here. There's not many signals telling you to buy it either, other than the fact that, like I said earlier, if you bought it any time in like the last 10 years, you're doing pretty well on this stock. So I think, once again, it's kind of like Apple. A lot of happy shareholders there. Let's move on to the next one. Activision. Activision is trading inside quarter. I have some Fibonacci stuff here. You can ignore it. But yeah, this stock, inside quarter, but there's plenty of time left in that. It's inside month. The month just started. There's really not many signals there on the monthly. And on the weekly, I don't think there's any signals either. They had earnings come out, and they were good. They're continuing to do really well. They're doing stuff with Call of Duty being brought over to Battle.net, and I think that'll be good for PC sales. They're not going to be giving 30% of their PC COD sales to Steam anymore. So I don't think that's going to be the reason to own this stock, but it's definitely an interesting one to watch going into E3. We do have like 2 weeks. We have a week before E3. So the hope is that we can get some weekly signals in some of these stocks into it. But we'll see. There have been a lot of leaks coming out, and then some other companies just straight up announcing news. But yeah, if you want the upside to continue in Activision, you definitely want it to get above the previous month, 73.50. Let's move on to EA. EA is another one of these. It's just up. Look at this thing. It's up. It's at the highest it's ever been. This is a trend or a theme on this episode of Game Trader. Stocks at all-time highs. This is very close to an all-time high. You have 135.80. It had strong earnings. They have an E3 lineup that they're going to show off here in a couple of weeks. Inside attempt at a weekly reversal strategy that did not, to the downside, that did not happen. So the stock's just really strong. It rejected that reversal strategy, so that's bullish. Let's move on to Facebook. I don't like this company at all, but look, it had a reversal strategy to the upside. Trade inside week, went back inside. It went below that range. It went below 182.22. It got as low as 182.18, 4 cents. Came back into that range, and then the next week it blasted off. So if you bought this, you made like $5. But still, that's pretty dang bullish. It has an inside month and up from the previous month that you can watch. Anything above 192.72 is a continuation of that, so we are there right now. This signal could continue to go up. And it's inside quarter, barely. So that's another thing to watch. If it does come back in, that's why I show you multiple time frames. You never know if you're trading inside of a larger time frame, you might get a signal like on a weekly or a daily that you could trade, but it's good to be mindful of the macro trend. But like I said, look at all these stocks. Like they're near or at all-time highs in the NASDAQ. This is a trend. Except for this stock, GameStop. This stock is just terrible. Look at this. It all-time high was 63.77. It closed the week at 13.72. It's trading inside quarter. I drew this downtrend. You have a downtrend that started in 2006. That's the first time you saw this. After the Great Recession, or during the Great Recession, it hit a low of about 16.91, And then again, a low of 1532. A lot of people thought this level was going to hold. You saw them over here in this quarter try to hold it into the end of last year. It was at 1585. It blew right through that support, but it's right here at this downtrend line, which I think is kind of interesting because it's held onto this downtrend. Maybe it'll just hug it into the abyss, but let's see. There's some hope on the monthly chart. You got an inside month reversal to the upside potentially above 1389 on the monthly chart. So watch this. You have, almost a full month ahead of you in June. If GameStop gets above 1389 on the monthly, you have an actionable signal to buy it for the first time in a very, very, very long time. And it's also off of this very long-term downtrend. And if you look at it, sometimes when you buy it off of this downtrend, it's returned a decent amount of money each time. Especially if we're in a situation like this in 2012, where you were able to buy it in the teens and get out of it just, a year and a half later in the 50s. GameStop is also one of the most shorted stocks in the market. So it does have the juice for short covering. They reported earnings on Thursday evening, and the stock was down on the news and then up the next day, which is always nice to see. So we can probably see that on the daily. Yeah, that is an inside-outside day. So the next day on this chart is going to be very interesting to watch. Like I said, you have an inside week and up signal, but that signal is over. But above, once I said above that, you can have some continuation of this. It's just interesting down here. It's been my contrarian buy. I do like it. I do own it in multiple accounts. And you actually have a potential monthly reversal signal. So pay attention to that if you so choose. Another stock is Google. It's actually not doing as well as its tech counterparts. It hit an all-time high to begin the year. It's kind of been struggling since then. On the weekly, let's see. It just completed a reversal strategy to the upside. You had an inside week. It went below that, and it powered right above it. So if you bought that right here, you made about $40 per share, which isn't terrible. Outside of that, it is inside quarter. So there's not really any... There's a reason why it's been churning around like this, and it's because it's inside quarter. Some other tech stocks. Intel. This stock's killing it. I mean, ignore this. This is the tech bubble, but you're at highs not seen since 2000. Yeah, since the middle of the year 2000. So that's something. There's absolutely no signals at all to buy it, except for the fact that it's a momentum stock. If you want to own a chip maker, dominant market leader in some areas. Some would argue there's other semiconductors out there that are more attractive. I would be one of those people. But yeah, it's doing extremely well. It's doing well in the quarterly, doing well in the monthly, and it's doing well on the weekly chart. So yeah, there's nothing to tell me, hey, I got to buy this stock right now. But it just is another one of those stocks that looks really good. Another stock like this is Microsoft. Holy cow. This stock's back above 100. I haven't seen this stock above 100 in a very long time. So this is all-time high for the stock, but people who have held the stock for a long time remember when it split, back here in 2003. If you split adjust the stock, it did hit above 100 back in the tech bubble. But so yes, this is now the second time we've seen it above 100 per share, but this is an all-time high for the stock. It's just doing everything really well. I know that Xbox, is not a huge part of their revenue or earnings at all, but their cloud services, Azure, you got Office, and Windows 10 as an operating system. So they're doing very well. Kudos to anyone who's been long this stock. It's just another one of those tech stocks is doing extremely well. Weekly chart looks really good. It's a trend. A lot of tech stocks and a lot of them are at all-time highs. Let's talk about stock not at an all-time high that I happen to own. Nintendo. This stock is trading inside quarter. It has not had a great couple of weeks. You have a stock that's really been in the muck for a while. You know, it had an all-time high. Let's go back on the monthly chart. So you had an inside month in the second month of the year after hitting it. It hit an all-time high to start off the year of 58.45. It then went inside month, reversal strategy, and down. So we're now $8 down from the multi-year high. I shouldn't say all-time high. It's a multi-year high. This charting software doesn't chart back to the old days for Nintendo. But yeah, you have a stock that is in a little bit of a downtrend. Started. Let's see, we pulled up on the daily or yeah, there you go. So it's a little bit of a downtrend here. Nothing to get too worried about. I think what's going on is they're shaking out a lot of shareholders that are just not strong. The people who hadn't been in the stock for like a year. Oops, I did not mean to do that. So yeah, on the monthly chart, a lot of people got shook out here. You know, you had a stock that everyone was buying up. It did not hit a new bull market high. You know, it was 57.96 versus 58.45. So you had a lower high, followed by that next month where it fell off. The stock dropped down into the 50s, and then below 50s, you had a good buying opportunity if you were able to scoop it up. In my opinion, around that 48 area. Because this week we did have Pokemon news that drove the stock up quite a bit, but it did kind of settle back down. Nintendo's one to watch going into next week, for sure. Or going into E3. Yeah, it's inside month, but that can change. We've seen that in the past. And on the quarterly, it is inside, but that will not resolve for a little bit. You have E3 coming up. We'll see what happens. There's no reason to buy it technically right now, but everyone knows it's my largest holding. It's my favorite stock. If I didn't own it, I would be buying it. Let's talk about a different stock that's just killing it. This is just comical. Like, look at this NVIDIA chart. Just look at it. Just look. I have nothing to say. It's just wow. It's a great stock. I've traded out of it recently, but I don't blame anyone for wanting to own them. I think they are the best of breed semiconductor company. So coming into E3, you always want to pay attention to Sony. Sony traded inside month last month. It is inside month this month as well, but we've only had one trading day in June. So pay attention to a breakout above 48.98 and a breakdown below 45.63. That would be your risk range on this. If you get above that, you have a buy signal. Below that, you have a sell signal. If you reverse back in, you have a reversal signal. So pay attention to that range. You had a previous inside month and down, and now it's trading inside month again. So let's see which way this resolves. That's the monthly on it. The quarterly for Sony, no signal. And then also the weekly, it is inside week. So pay attention to next week. Maybe it trades inside week again. You never know. We're not trying to predict anything. We're trying to react to information as it happens. So that's Sony. I added a new stock to our universe because they own everything. Tencent. Oh man, why didn't you guys tell me to buy Tencent? What was I doing? Actually, I have a friend, Chris Buffett, who told me to buy this a long time ago. I should have. Over at Prima Games. Yeah, this stock was $3 in 2009, and it is $52 today. It hit an all-time high above 60 just a few months ago. So something to pay attention to. They own 40% of Epic Games. They're taking a stake in Bluehole. They own a lot of things, and they're the largest advertiser in China. But I think because they own 40% of Epic, they own Bluehole, they own Riot Games, they own a lot of things. Uh, it's something that I think gamers should pay attention to. On the month, it had an outside month in May. So it traded below the previous month's range and above the previous month's range. So you want to watch for a breakout. That when that happens, you have an instant fractal risk range that appears. Oh, I am holding down the D key apparently. Excuse me. So yeah, that's an outside month to watch. Above 54.36 and below 47.88. Those would be buy and sell signals on the monthly chart. On the quarterly, it hit an all-time high the previous quarter. It's just kind of figuring out where it wants to be. It's like a lot of tech stocks. I don't know if you've noticed, that's been a trend on these. The weekly is kind of all over the place. It has a potential reversal strat week. So it traded inside week, went below that, and closed the week back inside that range. Watch for a breakout above 52.51 next week. You could have a weekly buy signal in Tencent, and then you could get a nice trade out of it most likely. If not, you know where your stop is, 52.51. Onto a dedicated video game company that has hopefully some E3 news. Come on, give us Red Dead on Switch, right? Red Dead Redemption 2 maker. They're the makers of 2K Sports. They own Gearbox. Take-Two Interactive Software is not a stock that's at an all-time high. It actually has come down a little bit. There's actually a little bit of a downtrend happening. You had an outside quarter to start off the year to the downside. The stock went back below that. It's trying to come back inside. On the monthly, you have this outside month in February that you have to pay attention to. The stock has not gotten above that. It hit an all-time high, reversed back down. This is the short-term downtrend to pay attention to. Did not hit a new high, did not hit a new high, did not hit a new high. Inside month, we'll see what happens. They should have some news at E3. But we kind of already know the news. We know the game's coming out in October, so that's just something to pay attention to. I might have to do a video about how Take-Two runs up into launches at a later date. Last but not least, I just keep covering this stock because Zynga is doing okay. It's above $4. They had some news. They acquired a company this week. Had a good month. The stock went from below 350 back above 4. Nice return. It's definitely fallen from its highs in its IPO days, but it's I'm amazed by its ability to keep existing. So it still exists. Happy for them. That's about it from a individual stock perspective. If you're looking at the actual S&P 500, it's inside quarter. On the month, it is just having a fine time trying to figure out what to do with itself. It hit an all-time high in January, and it's been chugging along since. So I think what we've seen is a lot of rotation as a result of that. The NASDAQ 100 had a similar all-time high earlier in the year, has been trading inside of that range since. But you saw a lot of individual stocks that are in the queues are hitting all-time highs. So those would be the two indices to watch. You also have the Dow Jones, but no one really should be paying attention to this. It also hit an all-time high in January and has been chugging along since. That's kind of the trend, but I think that's why I focus on individual stocks. Definitely pay attention to Apple next week. They do have WWDC coming up. The stock's near an all-time high. It could be a situation where it's been just kind of walking up this uptrend, and Apple disappoints. Maybe they don't announce anything cool. The stock could have downside down to this gap, this 185 area. So I'm like I said, a lot of these stocks are at all-time highs. Be careful if you don't have an actionable signal. And then also, on event days like WWDC, go down to the minute chart. go down to the 15-minute chart. The nice thing about this strategy is that it works across different time frames. I try to pay attention to the macro time signals because it gives you a little bit more time, and I think going into something like E3 or WWDC, it's important to look at longer term trends. So that's all for this video. I'm going to try to do this more often, at least every month, so you guys can have your monthly signals. If you have any stocks you want me to add to this that are ADRs in the US or trade in the US that are related to technology and gaming, I will add them. I appreciate you guys taking the time out to watch. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comment section or at TechnoSucks. Use the hashtag GameTrader. That's all for now. Have a good evening or day, whatever time it is where you are.